Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Office Bloke Aidan.
Here we are, Sports Edition. If sports is for you, you know what to do. Leave a like and subscribe if you don't mind. Do appreciate it, and it's free. The harsh truth about Caitlin Clark.
Well, what do you reckon this is going to be?
I don't know, because she's set the WNBA on fire. She's proper pegged it up like levels. I think, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah,
well, it's not just my opinion. She has done.
Yeah,
it's gone up levels since she's joined. You know, she's really made it sort of like about, you know, people actually going to watch it. You know, some people want to be like.
No one's going to watch it anymore because she didn't make the playoffs, did she?
I thought they made the playoffs. Did they get beat in the first round, or did FIFA made the playoffs?
I didn't think they made it.
Oh, I thought they made. I'm not sure. I've not really watched it, to be honest.
No, neither.
I've just seen highlights of Caitlin Clark and her breaking all kinds of records, and loads of like young kids wanting to be Caitlin Clark. They're not wanting to go out there and be like Caitlin Clark for the the women's side. And she's done great for the WNBA. But let's see what JxmyHighroller got to say. He's our go-to channel for basketball anyway.
Yes, 100%,
so,
yeah.
Let's see what he's got to say.
Some athletes are good. Some athletes are great. But very rarely does an athlete make such an impact that they begin to transcend their sport. You know, those times where an athlete is creating so much buzz that people who don't even follow the sport know their name.
Just a quick thing, you know that Williams we saw for who did we watch the other day? Football team,
Alabama.
Alabama. Do you know Williams, the young freshman?
Yeah.
Cousin of Serena and Venus.
Oh, really?
So it's definitely in their bloodline, right?
Yeah.
Eh?
Name. These athletes hardly ever come around, but when they do, you know something special is going on. Growing up, I used to skate, so of course I know who Tony Hawk is. But my mom also knows who Tony Hawk is. In a sport that tends to only retain the most die-hard fans, Usain Bolt was so incredible that he became a household name. And it also helped that his name sounds like he was destined to be the fastest man of all time. Ask the average person to name any golfer, and they'll instantly say Tiger Woods, followed by no one else. There are very few athletes that reach this level of popularity, where they almost single-handedly lift their sport to new heights. And right now, women's basketball is home to an athlete that may just be next in line to be one of these transcendent athletes. Caitlin Clark has only been in the WNBA for one season, and she is already the face of the league, drawing in more fans, viewers, money than ever before. But it hasn't come without harsh criticism, some of it targeted at the disproportionate admiration and attention being given to just one player, and some of this criticism claiming she simply isn't nearly as dominant as we are led to believe, a product of the sports media machine pushing their golden child. Is Caitlin Clark really as good as advertised? Or have her talents been overblown for the sake of the WNBA and the future of women's basketball?
And I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport.
On April 7th of this year, the women of the NCAA Basketball Championship accomplished something completely unprecedented. Throughout the game, they drew in nearly 19 million viewers, a number that shattered every NCAA women's record, exceeded the viewership of any men's tournament game over the last half-decade, and even surpassed every single NBA Finals game since 2018. The game was a groundbreaking spectacle, with people who had never even tuned into a single basketball game in their life turning on the TVs to see who would be crowned champions. The majority of this flocking attributed to one player, Caitlin Clark. Her unbelievable range and record-breaking performances proving to be must-watch TV. The true testament of her greatness and impact, all of the doubt and borderline detest that quickly followed her ascent. Some fans and players, both past and present, questioning if her talents would translate to the next level and if the horde of fans she inspired would follow. They did. Her WNBA debut attracted the most viewers of any WNBA game in the history of ESPN. Indiana's home game attendance jumped from an average of 4,000 fans last season to an average of over 17,000 fans this season, a more than 400% increase in just a single year.
That's crazy.
Transactions in the Fever's team store jumped over 700%, and WNBA viewership has skyrocketed to levels that even Clark's biggest advocates could not foresee. Game 4 of last year's WNBA Finals drew in more viewers than any WNBA game over the last 2 decades, with 728,000 fans tuning in for the game, living up to the hype as one of the most anticipated games in the history of the league. This season, there were 22 regular season games that eclipsed that mark, 21 of them drawing in over 1 million viewers. Even crazier, 18 of those 22 games featured Caitlin Clark.
That's what I was
just
going
about to say. I was reading the teams at the bottom trying to see which one didn't have the
I
fever.
can't see that far, but it's the ones that weren't in it. Sparks.
Sparks and Aces
and Aces and Sky, yeah.
And the Indiana Fever. But the most revealing evidence of the now dubbed Caitlin Clark effect is the fact that WNBA viewership has nearly caught up with NBA viewership in 2024. On ESPN, NBA games averaged 1.56 million viewers this past season. WNBA games averaged 1.2 million viewers, a number that was inconceivable just a couple years ago. But Caitlin Clark's soaring popularity has been a point of contention for many fans of the WNBA, frustrated that in a league that is bursting with talent right now, it's all just being overlooked for the poster child of women's basketball. Do Caitlin's abilities actually warrant the hype? In just her rookie season, Caitlin broke over a dozen league and franchise records, including the WNBA's single-season assist record. She set the record for the most assists in a single game. She received the most All-Star votes of any player in WNBA history, set a new league record for double-doubles by a guard in a single season, scored the most points of any rookie in league history, and became the first rookie in WNBA history to put up a triple-double.
If that was done by a male, breaking records of similar, I know probably some players have maybe broke records very similar, especially like first player to do a triple double maybe as a rookie. Don't know if that's been done in the men's game, I don't know, but if a male figure put that kind of numbers up as a rookie, what numbers she's putting, like dominated the league as much as she's dominated that league with stats and stuff, they'd be barking on about him big time. They'd be hyping him, like the next Michael Jordan or the next whoever, you know what I mean, one of them.
Just this past week, it was announced that Caitlin made first-team All-WNBA, which makes her the first rookie to make first-team All-League since Candace Parker did it 16 years ago. Turns out those awe-inspiring performances from her days in college did in fact translate to the pros. Because even against the best defense in the world, she is pretty much an offensive cheat code. Throughout her rookie season, with points and assists, Clark generated 45.2% of all points produced by the Indiana Fever. For perspective, she has a larger offensive load than every single player in the NBA last season, outside of Luka Doncic. And she's a rookie. But to really understand Caitlin's unparalleled offensive prowess, here are the 200 most productive offensive seasons in WNBA history on a scale of points generated per game. And among these seasons, you'll find the greatest players in the league's history. Lisa Leslie, Tamika Catchings, Cheryl Swoops, Candace Parker, and Angel McCoughtry have tons of seasons littered throughout this chart. Climb towards the top and you'll find seasons from Asia Wilson and Cynthia Cooper. But with 4 of the top 10 most productive offensive seasons in WNBA history is Diana Taurasi, her 2006 campaign being the best of them all, producing 33.9 points per game. And then there's Caitlin Clark, who is already the most potent offensive player in the history of the WNBA in her rookie season. Women's hoops has never seen a player like this. And as absurd as her numbers are, how she puts up these numbers is just as incredible. Here are the players who attempt the longest three-pointers on average in the NBA last season, with Trae Young leading the league with the deepest three-point attempts with an average distance of 27.94 feet, and Damian Lillard and Stephen Curry just a shade closer. Despite it still being worth the same amount of points, the longest shooters in the NBA are stepping 4 feet outside the three-point line on their attempts. But even amongst the deepest shooters in the world, Caitlin Clark is on her own island, because throughout the 2024 regular season, her average three-point distance was 28.1 feet, which is not only further than any player in the NBA and in the WNBA, it is a whopping 6 feet out from the WNBA three-point line. What? Has Caitlin Clark been worth all the...
I didn't expect that at all, because I thought it looks further away because the line's closer in the WNBA.
The stats are just crazy, aren't they?
I know, yeah.
It's just she's really sort of like took the sport by storm over a period. It just flashed in straight away, hasn't she? You know, the season when she was at with Indiana was at Iowa when she was at Iowa at college. When she finished out there, she was being talked about a lot. And so like started hitting the headlines.
She was quite known for like a few years in college.
Yeah, but then so like since she's hit the WNBA, it's just astronomical, yeah.
And hype that has engulfed her over the last 2 years? Yeah, I'd say so. She didn't just have a successful rookie season. She had one of the best rookie seasons in recent basketball history. And this isn't just to her benefit, but the benefit of the entire WNBA. Because the seismic boost in the WNBA's popularity this season is not limited to those turning on the games to see what she'll do next. It can also be found in the fans actually showing up to the games. Looking at a chart of the average attendance of WNBA games since the inception of the league in 1997 will tell you a story of a league that has seen their fair share of good days and bad ones. In 1997, there were only 8 WNBA teams, all with really healthy attendance numbers due to the excitement of a new women's league. The league quickly expanded to 16 teams with a handful of teams emerging as fan favorites, like the Washington Mystics, the Phoenix Mercury, and the LA Sparks. But with a massive league expansion came a nearly equal retraction. Many teams folding along the way, such as the Soul, Fire, Miracle, and Sting. But it wasn't until COVID where the league's once steady fan base was wiped out. In 2020, there were no fans in attendance due to COVID protocols, and when play resumed in 2021, attendance was at an all-time low. A number that has been quickly rising in the few years since the pandemic, but has specifically seen an explosion this season, where for the first time, league attendance was higher than the WNBA's inaugural season. The Indiana Fever seeing the highest attendance numbers in league history, nearly selling out every single home game. In a league where attracting the casual fan has been a seemingly insurmountable task, Caitlin Clark...
Especially when you've got like another team there as well, like the Pacers.
Yeah, exactly. But look at Liberty there. Look at the growth of Liberty when it first started out, when they first started going up to 15,000 watching, steady on 14, 15,000. And look at the drop.
I know, yeah.
In 2019. That's insane. 2,000 almost. Yeah. That's a mad drop.
Has defied the odds by not only drawing in new fans for her and her team, but rising the tides for the entire league. This is completely unprecedented. At least in the WNBA it is. But there was a time when the NBA was facing similar struggles until a pair of players showed up and changed everything. After the success of the Celtics in the 1960s, the NBA's growth in popularity had come to a grinding halt in the 70s. The league had a rampant drug problem. An emerging rival league known as the ABA was picking up steam, and the NBA didn't really have a face to propel the league into the next decade. Jerry West was on his way out. Kareem was incredible, but he didn't really have the personality or charm that fans gravitate towards. Bill Walton's prime was cut short due to injuries, and many fans felt Julius Erving's introduction to the league after leaving the ABA in 1976 was a bit short of what was advertised. Many games were lucky to see even half capacity in attendance. Many teams were losing money. The NBA had fallen to a, quote, second-tier sport behind the NFL, MLB, and NHL. All of this culminating to the point where some networks infamously had NBA Finals games on tape delay in the late 70s due to low ratings. The league was in desperate need of a generational, transcendent superstar. Lucky for them, they got two. Coming off the most popular rivalry in the history of college basketball, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson propelled the league to new heights in the 80s, transforming the NBA from a second-rate league into a behemoth of sports and entertainment. A tandem that many longtime NBA fans say saved the NBA. Now, this isn't to say Caitlin is the second coming of two of the greatest, most important figures in the history of basketball, but her impact on the sport at such an early stage in her career has reached a level reminiscent of some of the most influential athletes of all time relative to their sport. Because her popularity hasn't just affected her, it has had a cascading effect on players across the entire WNBA. Clark has essentially become the gateway to NBA fandom for many people. They come to witness the phenomenon that she is and end up staying once they see just how awesome the league and its players are. Players around the league are signing groundbreaking endorsement deals. Teams now have their own planes and new facilities. Many WNBA players have become household names, some of the most recognizable figures in sports today. There is real, genuine discourse about the games and the players right now that exists beyond the diehard fans. Conversations about the WNBA are now no longer about the legitimacy of the league itself, but instead about its players, records being broken, rivalries, the playoffs, title hopes, the draft, and up-and-coming prospects. It's understandable that Caitlyn's explosion in popularity has caused a lot of tension. Why is she getting all the attention when there's tons of great players around the league doing great things? The answer to that question? Well, it depends on who you ask. But there's no denying the widespread impact Clark has made on the league in just a single season. For years, players in the WNBA pushed for people to give their talents and their skills and the product a chance. And in record numbers, people finally are. Now, what it took to get them to tune in may not be the most ideal circumstance, where for many casual fans, one player is overshadowing the vast majority of an entire league, but it's 1,000 steps in the right direction. Whether the Caitlin Clark effect will have a lasting impact on the league and retain these new viewers and fans and continue to draw in more in the future is something that only time will tell. But one season in, and she is on a path to being one of the very few truly game-changing athletes of her generation. And yes, she's got all the talent to back it up.
Without doubt. And I think what would do that league the world of good if another one followed straight behind.
And they had like some sort of rivalry.
A little bit of rivalry, but also a little bit of like someone's going to have to answer me a question as well. If you on the in the media in the USA, is Caitlin Clark plastered all over it? Is she like a poster girl for other stuff than just the WNBA? You know, is she advertising like, I don't know, like telephone lines or
lines,
shopping malls or whatever, you know, people do, like sports brands. You know, there's all kinds of different things. When people start getting endorsements and getting advertising, you know, do you see her everywhere, or is it something you only see in the WNBA? Has she branched out into other things that everyone's bought into? But when you see them little kids there, sort of like you know, boys and girls, and you see them there, they want to be, you know, just like a sports hero. They're looking at a sports hero. Might be cheaper to go to the WNBA than it is to go to the NBA.
Might be. So
it's you know, you see that's what's sort of like cottoned on a little bit here with women's soccer. Yeah. You get it's a lot cheaper to go. So a lot of the people are taking the families down to do that rather than go to the men's soccer because it's cheaper. You know, especially the little kids, and they all grow up then looking at Caitlin Clark as their superhero. But that league, if that gets another one, and then another one that follows in, and these 3 or 4 of them are all superstars like that, that league's going to bounce.
Yeah, 100%.
They're right behind the NBA, obviously, right there now. You know, they're pulling in numbers now which are comparable. You know, starting to earn the crust, as you say. Impressive that with Caitlin Clark, very impressive. But enjoyed that. JxmyHighroller, as always. Same. Yeah, puts great videos together. Very informative, great information. Top channel. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you on the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.